If you combine American Psycho with 50 Shades of Grey and mix in a Donald Duck cartoon, you get the movie. What was that? Oh, the New York Ripper. That's right. We watched the New York Ripper. We watched it so you don't have to. So you know what that means.
Horror, so bad and scary. Splitting up is never okay. Plot, who needs it? Don't turn on the lights. Cars don't ever start, but that's alright. Running upstairs instead of out the door. Good acting, what do we need that for? Horrible horror, so bad and scary. Enjoy the show, but not really.
Greetings, Moon Goons. Welcome to the next episode of Horrible Horror. I am your host, Marshall Hampton. With me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Aaron Southworth.
Hello.
And joining us today is a returning friend of the show, Mr. Coffee, Doug Jones.
Howdy, folks.
I am a little sick today under the weather, so most of the show will be conducted by Aaron and Doug.
As best we can.
We're just going to kind of, I was kind of guide the ship, but they're going to do most of the work. But take care of some little house cleaning things before we even get into this movie, The New York Ripper. Let's talk about our March Horrible Horror March Movie Madness tournament we got going on. Cover up the latest rounds of brackets. This week we saw the Pumpkin Carver beat out the Stuff to move on to the quarterfinals, and the Wickeds beat out Poultrygeist to move on.
Not a big surprise.
No, not really there. Now, the last two, we actually have to have a debate over here and figure this out.
Are we come to another?
Yeah, we're kind of
stalemate?
deadlocked.
Okay.
We need to figure out between After School Massacre and Blood Valley Seeds Revenge. So let's start with that one. And Doug, maybe you can help break the tie here.
I haven't seen either, so that's going to be tough.
You're
right.
a lucky man.
Yeah.
On both of them, huh? Wow.
Yeah. So Aaron, what would you? Because I know what I'm kind of leaning towards, but what would you?
Well, actually, I think C's Revenge is worse.
You think?
I thought at least After School Massacre, while as diluted and weird as it still was kind of had some entertainment to it. I mean, a guy got killed by a mailbox.
That is true. The mailbox kill was fun.
Somebody got killed with a mailbox. Very unique kill. Yeah, the curling iron death. You know, Fruit on My Belly rap song.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm going with C's Revenge is the worst movie.
So I know you've over that since. The only time it does come down to me to break up tie. For the same reasons you said, I'm pretty much going to go with Blood Valley 2 to move on. I think After School Massacre is awful as it is and poorly made. It's so bad, it's, comedic value to it. And so, all right, we're just going to put that to bed. Blood Valley, Seeds Revenge will move on to the next
Fruit
round.
on the Belly rap song.
Yeah.
Fruit on my belly, fruit on my belly.
It's really bad.
That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, there's even a music video if you watch during the credits, and it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then the last one for this week is The Houses That October Built, taking on Return to Horror High. Now this is another one we had a dead heat on.
Now Doug was the guest on Return to Horror
Yes,
High.
he was.
Yes.
Yeah.
That might have been the first time I ever got to sit with you guys. I'm not for certain on that, but
I'm not sure,
I do remember that.
But have you seen The House That October Built?
No, but
Because I haven't either. I haven't seen it because that was the movie that you guys did when I was getting
Chris.
married.
Yeah,
Chris said it was horrible.
It's awful. It's a POV.
It gets good ratings, though. I looked it up because it's got October. That's like a new horror movie, right?
Yeah, it's relatively new. I mean, it's a few, like 2-3 years old, maybe.
I've seen it on those list of Netflix horror movies you should watch.
Yeah,
but it's crap, huh?
I think it's awful.
So
Chris and I both thought it was just downright disgusting.
I'm going to have to be biased here and say that to move on would be The House That October Built because I did see Return to Horror High, and to be perfectly honest, it was kind of fun. You know, when I listened to the podcast again, I laughed and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this in the movie. And I love, the guy who played Mo Green or whatever is Roca, the Roca actor. George Clooney hit one of his first movies. There's certain things about it that I enjoy and I could watch again. Marsha Brady
getting turned on by blood.
Being real weird and like bizarrely sexual.
Yeah.
So I would say House of the October Built.
They
just
needed
by
her
default.
in the movie this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think I'm going to agree with you again. We're going to break that. I think we're going to move Houses October Built, move on. Again, Return to Horror High is an awful movie, and especially since there's the payoff just slaps you in the face at the end, since nothing really ever actually happens.
Yes.
But House October is just fucking hard to watch. It's a goddamn first person like point of view movie, and it's one of the movies Chris and I talked about many times that it doesn't know what it is. Like it starts off wanting to be a documentary, which would have been fine, but then he goes in like, you know what? Let's have an idea of putting this side plot of an actual horror movie, and it's fucking awful. All right, so there's Breaking the Tie. We're gonna have Houses that October built move on.
And I think what that shows, Marshall, is Return to Horror High was in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
And then House That October Built was now.
Yeah.
Like probably the last 3 or 4 years. So
Exactly.
it doesn't matter when. They can still make horrible fucking horror
Exactly.
movies.
So this upcoming week, the next round, we will have Bloody Mary 3D taking on Night of the Dead. Slaughterhouse Massacre going up against Alice in Murderland. Thanksgiving will take on Splatter University. Christmas Sleigh takes on Stitches to round out this week, next upcoming week's brackets to move on to, which will give us our Elite 8 then. So
All right.
we're closing in. All right, so let's the only other thing that we have to announce, we have a big announcement here at Horrible Horror to make for everybody out there. Is we have our first live show scheduled for everybody in the St. Louis area, Belleville area. We will be having a live show on Saturday, March 26th at 1 p.m., 1 in the afternoon, at Sullivan's Bar in Belleville. So we encourage everybody to come out and hang out, check out the show. You can interact with us, be part of the show. We'll be going out to the audience and asking you guys opinions on whatever movie it is we decide to do that time.
Well, we need to announce that movie quick because we are going to be live. And I've been wanting to do that for a long time.
That sounded great.
I wanted to be like, coming to you from the Horrible Horror Studios in Belleville, Illinois. It is Horrible Horror coming to you live. I've been wanting to do that, but I can't, but I will.
Yeah.
March 26th, Sullivan's Bar and Grill on
1 o'clock.
159,
The only
Belleville,
thing,
Illinois.
you have to be 21 to get in because it's the rule. It's a straight up bar, not a bar restaurant. So you have to be 21 just to get into the
We're
bar.
not fucking around. We're going to get drunk.
Yep.
We're going to have fun. We're going to party. Yeah.
So yeah, mark down your calendars. March 26th. Now that's all done. Let's jump into the New York Ripper. This is, I don't know what you guys think, but it's listed on the new Blu-ray cover box as the most controversial horror film ever made. But
yeah, I wouldn't agree with that. But I mean,
before its time, back in
Possibly
1982. Yeah, it was released March 4th, 1982 in Italy. This is an Italian film, which I did not realize that going into it. I was like, oh, New York, but
filmed in New York.
it's filmed in New York, takes place in New York. A lot of American actors, but it is Italian and some spots very poorly dubbed. Very poorly dubbed. There are several different versions of this movie, so I don't know. All varying runtime. Some are like an hour. The one we watched, or at least I watched on Amazon, is an hour and 34 minutes.
Mine was an hour 32.
Okay, and then there's 91 minutes, 93 minutes, 85 minutes, and 80 minutes. There's almost different versions of this film.
Where did you watch it?
I watched it on the Xbox live feed.
Okay.
So if you have an Xbox live account, you can rent movies, buy movies. It's just kind of like Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay, I did Prime as well, but I guess there are a couple that cut out a minute or two.
Yeah, it
wherever
depends on
you're
which
at.
censored version or uncensored version you get, director's cut. This is written by you're gonna really hear me butcher some Italian names today. Gianfranco Clerci and Lucio Fulci, and directed by Lucio Fulci. Now, Lucio Fulci is kind of a cult favorite director,
Yeah.
Italian movie director. A lot of diehard horror fans know him, but your casual fan, maybe not so much.
I think he influenced a lot. Anytime you read like the horror magazines
Yeah.
or on the websites, they'll reference him.
A lot of praise.
Well, even one of the movies, like I think even The Wickeds, that one of our first movies we ever did, is they give a shout to this guy.
They
in the
do,
credits,
yeah,
if I remember correctly. So yeah, you can find it on YouTube, Google Play, iTunes, and Amazon if you really want to watch this. The cast I didn't really go into because that's almost all Italian actors that no one's really gonna hear of in the States. The only
Northern Italian.
the only 3 people I wrote down just because of their connections are Alexandra Deli Coley, who plays Jane Forrester Lodge, and she's credited, I guess, on her IMDb page as being a horror movie cult classic star, like cult movies from Italy. She did this, and then she was in the movie Zombie Holocaust, which is kind of another big, I guess, cult bloodbath movie. And then Daniela Doria, who plays Kitty the prostitute, she only has 9 credits to her name, but at least 4 of those, maybe more, I'm not sure, are all Lucio Fulci movies. So she's that's basically her thing. So she's in a lot of his movies, like The House by the Cemetery, The Black Cat, and City of the Dead. And then the only other person I mentioned is Almanta Suska, who plays the kind of the lead girl, Faye Majors. She only has 8 credits. She only did 8 things, and this was her first movie. So she didn't really do much after this either.
Yeah.
So other than that, there's really not much to talk about.
Wow, and he cast her as a main character. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. All right, so jumping into the movie, I will say, so we don't have to keep talking about it, this movie loves zooming close-ups of people's eyes and objects. If you would take a drink every time there's a zooming close-up, you would be just completely shit-faced by the end of this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
You'd be passed out drunk.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and even pullouts too. Like it starts close and zooms out.
It does it all the time in this movie.
And sometimes it works like to try to grab somebody's look of horror and anguish, but other times it was just like while they're making a cup of coffee, and it's like it zooms in on their eyes while they're looking at the coffee pot. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
it's really, I don't understand it, why they use it so much, but I guess that's his style. That's his, maybe that's his calling card thing. But really, okay, let's, I'm going to start kind of fading away here and let you guys start taking over, and I'll chime in when I have something, to cover a few things. But from this point on, let's just kind of run. You guys just take it away.
Yeah, I'm gonna just kind of. So it opens up on the Brooklyn Bridge, So there's an overhead shot of the Brooklyn Bridge, and there's a guy walking his dog underneath. He's an older gentleman. He's like, "Come on, puppy, let's go for a walk. Let's get a little exercise." He's playing fetch with the dog, throwing the stick out to him. The dog's bringing it back. He's like, "Good boy, good boy." Throws it into the brush. The dog's looking for the stick. You find it? You find it, boy? Dog comes back with a severed hand.
Dun, dun, dun.
Roll opening credits.
Now,
it freeze frames on that hand for like 5 minutes
while it's rolling the credits,
Yes, yeah. 2 things I wanted to bring up. If you watch the trailer on Amazon,
I haven't.
The trailer is that opening scene. So alls it is, it's not like coming to theaters or not. It just opens up with like the whole credit scene and everything, and then it's that scene. So I thought that was either cool or weird of them, to make that the trailer. But the other part is when that guy bends down to get the stick, he says, "Oh, my balls."
He does.
I was going to ask you guys, but I couldn't. I wasn't sure. I didn't have subtitles. I was like, did he say "oh my balls" or "oh my bones"? He's old.
It had to be bones. But...
I think so, but I swear the same thing. Like it sounds like he's saying "oh my balls."
I heard balls.
You will hear balls. So then let me bring you back to. That is the trailer for the movie. So that made it into the trailer where he's like, "Oh, my balls." Well, who wouldn't go see that movie?
I'm in. So that's the opening scene. We have the hand. And so then we cut to a police station where this Lieutenant Williams is walking around, getting report from a black lady who looks exactly like Hooks from Police Academy. She looks a lot like Hooks from Police Academy, and she's talking about the found body, and so he's there to interview the landlady who the body is.
Yeah, I don't want to count the body of the woman killed turns out to be, I believe she's black, right? You see a picture, like a black and white picture. She looks black in the picture.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, if I could be wrong with that, but
maybe she's Sicilian.
But she's very dark skinned with dark hair, which I only bring that up because of the whole pattern of the movie later. Because everybody else is supposed to be like, I'm going to
okay.
spoilers because I don't
get
care, but everybody else is supposed to like blonde hair and white blonde hair, and she's so. And then they pin it. They immediately think it's the same guy or whatever.
So, anyway, she's interviewed. So he's like, great, I got to do this. All right. So he goes to interview the landlady, who was probably the last person they think that saw her was the landlady. Landlady's name is she's smoking a Black and Mild. It looks like she's smoking a Black and Mild cigar. She's got her hair up in rollers with a hair net and over it, and her name is Miss Weisenberg. And she's real chatty. She's like, oh, I heard her talking, and she was having a great time. And if I look like that, I wouldn't be shy to hide it off. But anyway, I was watching her talk, and I was listening. I was watching that new movie. I was watching that new show. You know that new show Dallas about the people who have money coming out of the ears? Yeah, I was watching that one, and I'm like, oh man, this is great. I can listen to this lady talk all day.
Yeah, total character.
Yeah.
Like that was a well played character.
It was
like, what the hell is this?
It was really good. So anyway, the cop's bored with her, just like, oh god. But the thing that she delivers finally, she talks about how her phone is kind of janky, and somehow she sometimes gets her calls, and she listens into that girl who is dead's calls, and heard someone acting like a duck. Quacking like a duck, sounds like a duck, but not like Donald Duck, it's just like a duck. Quack, quack, quack. So it's kind of like a sound. So
that's good.
And the cop's just like, a duck. All right, rolls his eyes. Whatever. Get out of here. Just doesn't
care at all.
Doesn't give a
Lieutenant
shit.
Williams he's an old, like, cranky, crotchety police captain,
He's-
lieutenant.
What would you
Now,
say?
did you guys ever have that happen as kids where
Where I had people prank me as a duck.
and try to kill you? I mean, who hasn't? But where I used to live kind of out in the country, and sometimes I could pick up the phone to place a call, and I would hear other people talking.
No.
And I got beat up on the school bus when I was like in elementary school because I did that to a high school kid, and he was talking to a girl, and I got on and started saying like, he poops his pants, and he beat me up the next day.
I did. I know what you're talking, because I remember I was like maybe 10 or 12, and yeah, the landline. I remember picking up the phone one day and like not very loudly, but very faintly, being able to hear like two older women talking on the. I'm like, what is going? What was happening? So yeah, I have had that happen to me.
Doug, you're awesome.
It was gold if you could talk in, but that was rare. You couldn't always talk in, but when you could, like, it's worth an ass beating to do something. Like, I'm never gonna get this chance again.
How did he know it was you?
Oh, I get my voice, I'm sure, but we lived in a small, it was out in the country, but there was a couple kids and houses and stuff, and he just knew. He was like, "Doug, get off the phone." And it wasn't like a horrible beating, but it was a couple hits to the head and in the stomach, like, oh. He's like, "Don't ever do that again." So his name was Scooby. His name was, everybody called him Scooby. I
You
got
heard
beat
it here
up,
first.
yeah, by a kid named Scooby. Damn it.
So we cut away from the police station, and then we get a hottie with a body.
Oh yeah,
riding a 10-speed down in New York City. So she's cruising along on her 10-speed, and there seems to be some guy kind of pacing her, driving slowly behind her. Kind of first-person POV shot of him following this girl on this 10-speed. And it's totally 80s out. She's got the short shorts. She's got the big puffy socks on. Her hair's kind of pulled back.
her ass does look good in those short shorts, though.
Yes,
It looks really good.
It's she's got a base on her.
Like
Yeah,
the Jane Fonda look or
Right.
whatever. That's those videos
Right,
from
that's
back in the day.
That's a little 1-2 cutie pie
Yeah.
right there. Yeah. So she's riding her bicycle and she gets onto a ferry to take her across the river.
It's
So,
the Staten Island ferry.
Staten Island ferry.
I just want to comment on this before, excuse me, before you move on to what before she even gets on the ferry.
Oh well, yeah.
She rides her bike into a red Volkswagen Beetle. It kind of collides within the side, and the guy in the car just starts yelling at her, and I just want to know, he's wearing a white shirt with a blue jacket, and he's saying, "God damn it, why can't you watch where you're going?" And she replies, "Sorry, I was thinking about Boston."
Yes.
What?
Was she thinking about the band or the
Yeah,
state? Like, what
yeah,
was she
the
thinking
city
about?
or the
Yeah,
band.
the city or the band.
Rock and roll band. And then the man fires back with, "You women should stay home where you belong. You're a menace to the public. You have the brains of a chicken."
Yes.
I'm like, this whole exchange is insane.
Is there something lost in translation
Yeah,
here?
because just the fact, "Oh, I'm sorry, I ran your car because I was thinking about Boston." And then the male chauvinistic reply of, "You chicken-brained women are no good. You're
And
menace to society.
there is no way that if that dude looked over to somebody that bumped in his car and it was that chick on a bicycle, he would not. There's no way he would yell at her.
Oh, let's take a look. Hey, well, maybe I won't press charges. Maybe we could do something here. I don't know.
I'd be like, oh, don't pay now. Let me pay you.
Yeah.
So, what can I do for you? I just ran into my car and scratched.
So she calls him a dickhead and then rides off.
Yeah.
And so she gets onto the ferry, and that car that was pacing her also gets onto the ferry. And then we also find that the Volkswagen Beetle is on the ferry as well.
Did you notice the guy who drives the ferry, the Beetle onto the ferry, is a completely different guy?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
I
Yeah,
did
it's a
notice that.
completely different driver. He's in a red shirt and totally different than the one who actually had the exchange with the girl.
Huh.
So the ferry's going, and there's a horn blasting every 20 seconds it seems.
Yeah.
It's the ferry's bullhorn. So she's walking around and she finds the car. She finds the Volkswagen car, and she's like, "Well, I'm gonna fuck with this guy's car." Opens the door, gets inside, and gets out a stick of lipstick and starts to write the word "shit" on the inside of his windshield. I was hoping she was gonna write "shithead."
I think that's what the plan
What we're
was.
going for.
But yeah.
She gets interrupted. So there's a first-person view of someone walking over to her, and she goes, "Oh, hi. Well, yeah, he deserves it. He really is a bad person." And, there's no real interaction back from the person talking to her. And she goes, "Well, and I feel kind of bad, but he's a bad dude." And then out of nowhere, there's the quacking sound. Just switchblade opens up. She screams. She's trying to get out of the car. The car's door, the passenger door is too close to the wall. She's kind of pinned in the car. She can't get out. And Quacky gets into the car and just starts stabbing the shit out of her.
He's already in the car before he even pulls out the blade, because he gets in and they're just sitting there having like a chit chat.
Yeah, like she scoots over, you know, and then like he looks down and her legs are spread open, and then she closes them. But I was like, why did you let this guy get in the car? You just scooted over and let him in.
And just like
her legs were wide open.
And she's like, "Oh, my name's Rosie, and I do this," and I'm like, "What?" It's just having like a conversation. And then, then he tries to kill her.
Whips out the switchblade and just starts stabbing the shit out of her. And these effects are pretty good. They're actually close-up shots of like the person wearing the sweater. Knife goes in, dragging down, guts and blood spilling out. She's screaming, but the screams aren't heard because of every time she screams, wah, wah, there is the horn going on.
The other thing I felt weird about this scene was how like when she's trying to get out of the car, she's like struggling to get away from him. He pulls a blade, and then she screams a bit, and then you see her go like limp in
like
the
she
door,
faints,
like she, or she like she. I thought she was killed already. She goes totally limp, like she's dead. And then it cuts back to her, and she's wide awake, screaming bloody murder again. So I'm like, why go limp? Why would you go limp in the first place?
I think it's possible, like what Doug said, probably just fear. Just it's possible that your brain just like, this is too much, and just shut off. That happens. People faint from small injuries or the sight of blood. I have no problem with it.
I wondered if it was editing too, like maybe there was a stab that we didn't get to see because of where he stabbed her or whatever. And then she I don't know.
That's what I thought. He stabs like in the side, like, and then she goes, okay, she's dead.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, she's dead. But then when she's sitting back in the car and she's screaming, getting cut, I'm like, why would you go limp in the first? Why not just continue to struggle? I don't know why I didn't understand the going limp part.
So sometimes you don't want to go limp, you just go limp. You can't help it, Marshall. It fucking happens. Let it go.
Come on, Marshall, yeah. Jeez. It's never happened to me though. Never. Viral over here. So stab the shit out of. We get a shot of people leaving the ferry, and they're like, "Come on, get that Volkswagen moving, get it on down here." So the guy who drives the Volkswagen is not to be seen. So where the hell is he?
Exactly.
And there's a big conversion van in front of the Volkswagen who's just like, "Fuck it," and starts smashing the car forward.
Yeah, they push it off the ferry with a van just ramming it from behind,
just ramming it forward, which was really weird. But so it pushes the van pushes the Volkswagen Beetle past the camera. You see the girl hanging a little bit out the window, all stabbed up and dead.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed that, because you said it was a different guy driving, but when the van pulled up behind it and started pushing it, I wondered too, where the hell's the driver? Like, why did he ever get out? But it's not against a wall at all.
No.
It's clearly in the
No,
middle of the
it's
bay.
very
and
good
she
point.
could have easily just jumped out, you know.
Right, I didn't even think about that part.
Yeah,
but you're
good eye.
clearly right
Yeah.
about that.
Good eye, Doug.
Um,
Yeah.
So yeah, the only thing I want to chime in here is that it goes back to Lieutenant Williams talking about this Rose who just got killed, who again is not blonde. She's brunette, almost borderline redhead, depending on what light you see her in. But he says he out of nowhere, like he just knows that the killer is between 28 and 30.
Yeah, it's
And
weird.
he's lived in New York his entire life. I'm like, how would you know that?
Yeah, because the next scene is they're in the autopsy room where this old guy is freaking awesome. He's this, I don't know, I'd probably put him in his mid-60s. He's got a pair of headphones on, and he's stitching up the body, kind of cleaning her up from the autopsy. And he's like, oh, yeah, he was real efficient butchering here, you know? And he was able to determine that the killer is left-handed, and that's where Williams chimes in. We have his age between 28 and 30. Which is so weird. It's such a small window of
Yeah.
age. I could get like 28 to 38 or from 30 to 40.
Mhm.
That makes a lot more sense. But 28 to 30, I think I've actually felt younger at 30 than I had at 28 at times. So it's way too narrow of a gap.
I agree. That's what I thought was so weird about it too.
But did anybody else love the guy who did the autopsies?
No, yeah, he was really cool.
I
like
liked
just
him a lot.
hanging out and
Yeah.
like saying whatever, you know, like that. He didn't mind that world at all.
Yeah.
He like eats candy while he's stitching up
Yeah.
bodies.
Yeah. I like that guy a lot. He was pretty cool. So, but anyway, they're able to determine that it's a left-handed killer. And he's into killing women, because didn't the autopsy guy also say that he stabbed her in her pleasure line and drug it all the way up?
And that's what made me think. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what made me think there was an edit in the car scene.
Yeah.
Because we know later in the movie they show some raunchy shit.
Yeah.
But in this one it was more just her guts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I assumed he.
She stabbed her in the vajayjay and drug it up.
Yeah, but you see like getting stabbed in the stomach, and then you see her get like a deep cut like across her right breast or something like that. But that's
Yeah.
about it
Yeah.
for this one.
So there's a scene that's kind of meaningless where I guess the detectives, or I guess the lieutenant's boss, Lieutenant Williams' boss, comes in and says, "Don't blow this out of proportion. We need to keep the press down," because apparently they've released information that there's somebody killing women, and that's the direction they're going.
I think right, it is pretty meaningless scene. I think the only reason it is in there because I looked up the guy who plays that police captain who comes in is Lucio Fulci, the director.
Oh.
So it's like he gave himself a cameo in
Gotcha.
this meaningless scene.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay. In that scene, he was smoking a pipe the whole time.
Trying to.
Yeah, trying to smoke
He
a
was
pipe.
really having trouble with that pipe.
In the near the middle or end or some point, my girlfriend brought it up that they find a pipe at a crime scene and they pick it up, and because she was like, "Is it the guy that was smoking the pipe?" So maybe they were trying to throw a red herring.
I don't know. Do you remember what that pipe looked like?
Well,
though?
Yeah. So
I didn't even make that connection. I didn't even.
yeah,
think that.
I didn't either. But I don't know if they were attempting that.
So then Williams goes and talks to some other police officers and says, "Hey, Williams, you got a phone call. They left a message for you. Who was it? I don't know who it was, but he was talking like a duck." Where Williams then goes, "Talking like a duck. Where have I heard that before?" What?
Yeah. Earlier this morning.
Is this the worst cop ever?
Yeah.
I mean, where's your memory? That's a very bizarre, specific thing. And he's like scratching his head like, where have I heard that before? That was awful.
Was it in a cartoon I watched? I mean, was
Yeah.
it?
That was pretty bad. So this is when Detective Williams, I guess, has now made the assumption that there is a killer who's specifically targeting women, and he goes out to seek the aid of a gentleman, I guess, who's good at profiling by the name of Dr. Davis, a young professor at the local college, or not, probably a prestigious college. They
Yeah.
didn't say which one, but it's a big
Or like
fancy,
NYU or something.
Right.
University of Phoenix. Something like that.
Did anybody else think he kind of looked like, I don't know, like a young, or like, I don't know, he kind of reminded me of like Bradley Cooper for some reason. Like maybe
Yes,
his role in the 18.
100%. That is the person I thought it was when they're walking down the sidewalk and he's talking. I thought of Bradley Cooper from
Yeah.
American Hustle. That's really weird.
Oh,
to
that's
Yeah.
say
American
that.
Hustle. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got to be, but with, 80s glasses.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's basically he's hiring Dr. Davis to help profile the killer.
Yeah.
There's not much to Dr. Davis. I thought there'd be more of a payoff or something going on, but
He's just kind of like a psychiatrist or a forensic psychologist or something like that. That's
Yeah.
basically his role. in
his
this
role,
movie.
and that's about it.
No,
So
the whole time, and maybe the whole time, I thought he was the killer. And the only reason I said this is because I did get online and look at some stuff after, but a lot of people thought that, and then other people are like, "You're an idiot. That he was a nothing character. Why would you think that?" So it's just weird. That character was so unimportant.
But when you mention that, I think that character may have been included to kind of create that haze of that. Maybe a little mystery, a misdirect. Yeah,
they do a lot of red herrings in this movie.
So a little misdirect to kind of keep you off the trail. So I understand the reason they had him, but at the end of the day, spoiler, it's like there's not much to it.
There's even one scene where he says, like, it cuts to him, he's not at the crime or nothing, and he's like, "You're thinking too much like a straight-laced cop
he's
or
like,
something."
Checkmate.
Yeah, like he just
what?
like got away with murder or something,
Right.
but I don't know.
That's just ridiculous. So then we cut to anyways, they're hiring Dr. David. Then we cut to Times Square, and we're talking sweet triple X nasty sleazy.
it's the
Times
red light
Squares.
district, basically. It is dirty.
This is
dirty.
when Times Square in the late 70s, early 80s was just sleaze factory, high crime rate. Just triple X shows, porno. Live show, titty show. People handing out like flyers. It was basically like. Well, it kind of reminded me of Bangkok, and I was like, "Aw."
Yeah. Aw.
So you see this guy grab a ticket to go to watch a live sex show. So you got two people on stage going at it. The theater is sparsely filled. There's like 12 people there.
Yeah. That's comment that the guy who takes the car that goes in, he he's missing two fingers on his right hand,
Right.
which plays a really big part in this movie.
So he takes the flyer.
Which would make him left-handed, probably.
Right. So he goes and he's watching the titty show or the live sex act, and they're two people on a stage doing it. And he looks over. He's sitting in the front row, and he looks over, and about 8 seats down is Annie Lennox, or at least what I thought was Annie Lennox, because she's wearing the most 80s woman's like suit.
Yes,
it's stark white. Her makeup is really harsh. She's got a top hat on, like a not a top hat, but like a
it's kind of a
fedora type hat, real sharp features. You know what I'm talking about, 80s style all the way.
She's dressed like Carmen Sandiego, just without the red.
Kinda, yeah.
Now, full disclosure, you both loved it. You both loved her. Like, she was phenomenal, right?
I loved her. I did.
But go ahead. I just want to.
I thought
can't
she
help
was
but love
great.
her.
Yeah, so she's watching the sex show, and then it just cuts. He's just kind of looking at her, but then it cuts right to her. And for the next 5 minutes, it's all about her watching this sex show. She's watching the show. She pulls out an old microtape recorder, sets it down, and starts recording the audio of these people having sex. And she starts reaching her hands down. It's showing the close-ups. We're talking about the close-ups. Close-ups of her lips. Her lips start quivering. It's a very slow build-up to her just getting more and more turned on and just watching this sex show. And then she just kind of reaches into her pants. I mean, you see full panties, her hands right there, going to town, double-clicking that mouse. It was full-on masturbation scene. She's getting into it. People are getting into it. Boom, climax.
Yeah. Now,
Woo, gotta tell myself off.
I wanted to make a quivering lips joke, but I didn't. I'm above that.
I just want to try and get it because I thought it was hilarious that during all this, like, again, this is a live sex show, and Aaron, he touched on briefly that there's only like 12 people in the audience, and with the exception of really this woman who gets herself off in the front row, everybody else looks completely disinterested and bored.
Like they're just watching.
Why even be there? Like, there's a shot, it's really quick, but there's a shot of like this old gray man who looks like he's asleep, like in the second row. He's kind of like diagonally behind the man with two fingers, and he's got his head like
slumped to the
over
side.
something.
Yeah.
He looks like he's sleeping.
He's
during
just comfortable there. We were debating, do you think, well, see, I've not been to Bangkok or anything like that, but do you think places like that still exist, let's say in America, where it's pretty easy to know where it is and you just walk in and pay? I said no. I said that there's too much porn on the internet and it's too accessible.
Yeah, I think
there's
that
no
a
need
lot
for
of things
it.
have been cracked down and stuff like that. Like, I mean, maybe something in Vegas or or like, I mean, there's the brothels out in Nevada, but I think as far as like live sex shows anymore,
Where you could just pay and walk in.
Gentlemen,
I don't think so.
when's the last time you were on the east side and you went into one of those dirty little strip clubs? You throw a couple 20s out, next thing you know, you got 2 girls going at it. Come on.
So I guess you got to know how to do it. Then you got to know what
that's
to
different
do.
though. I mean, I'm.
It's
a
not like
strip club-
advertised.
A strip
Like
club, a girl and girl is a lot different than just a live of like a guy and a girl fucking in front of
I hear you.
on a stage.
I hear you. But anyway, I just had to chime in.
Yeah.
Now maybe in Amsterdam that stuff's probably going, but I don't think that you would really see that anywhere openly.
It's good to know, because after I watched this, I fucking looked everywhere to go somewhere, and I couldn't find anywhere.
What do you want to do tonight, honey? I want to watch live sex act. So the scene ends. Ladies, the couple that's on the stage, take a bow and get an applause from the audience, which was pretty funny.
It's like golf clapping.
Yeah,
like,
it's because it's so sparse.
Yeah,
it was pretty funny.
They're artists.
Yeah, they get an applause.
That's basically what it is.
And then we follow the gal who is having sex off the stage, and she's also blonde, walking back into the dressing room. And it was kind of funny. This one gal goes, "How'd it go?" And she goes, "Nah."
Yeah, she did. I'm like, you were moaning and like wiggling and everything. And I'm like, fucking
that's
chicks.
That's like porn. Like, oh, she's got to sell it for the 12 people.
It was just so funny. She goes, "Meh." So she goes into her dressing room and she goes to turn a light, and the light's not working.
Now, hold on, because this was important to me. When she walked away, and you guys will have to refresh my memory. When she walks away from off the stage and walks away, I felt like the girl that was masturbating with the tape recorder was not sitting in the seats, but the guy with 2 fingers was sitting in the seats.
You are correct.
Okay,
And so because
wanna...
when she shows her like going, "Oh, come on, why aren't the lights coming on?" It cuts back to the seats, and that shows that Annie Lennox is gone. But
Annie Lennox is gone.
Like right after
before as she's walking off stage.
Yes,
she walked past
and the guy is
and
there.
Jane's gone.
But when they do that flashback or a cutaway to the seats, now they're both gone.
Yes,
right.
Yes, that's
but for her to walk anyway, go ahead. So they're trying to misdirect you all over the place.
Right. So the girl's trying to turn a light, and she's like, "Joe, come on." I guess Joe's the guy who owns the place. "Joe, you Italian bastard." I like how she slipped in that one. Yeah. So she can't find the lights. Lights aren't on. She steps on some glass, and she's like, "Motherfucker, oh, God." She's fixing her foot. She hears some noises. She turns around, and she looks into the closet. She doesn't see anything. She's kind of like, okay, nothing's here. She's, Joe, is that you? Closes the drapes, and then you hear, and boom! Out of the closet, through the curtain, comes a broken bottle into the vagina.
Yes.
Oh.
Gets killed by a broken bottle to the vag.
It's fast, too.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like, like brutal.
Yeah.
It was a brutal scene.
It's not even like he stabs him. He stabs him once.
Twists it. He's
Twists
grinding it in
grinding
there.
it in
Yeah. And she's screaming, but my first thought is, take a step backwards.
Yeah.
Just I understand, you got stabbed once in the vag. That sucks, but don't just stand there and take it. Move your legs a little bit. If I got stabbed in the dick, the first thing I do is probably jump into the ceiling.
Well, she was tired. She just had a lot of sex, and she's in the dark. She doesn't know what's going on.
But she's an old pro. She even said herself, nah.
Yeah.
So
plus, that's her moneymaker, technically. I mean,
that's true. You gotta protect your goods.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're a hand model and all of a sudden you burn your hands, you're gonna be very concerned, right?
Now, doesn't that kill her like immediately? Doesn't she just drop dead?
Yeah,
so-
Which is that? Do you feel like?
Which I thought the same things. Like it would suck and be unimaginable pain. But I don't know how that would kill you, unless you somehow nick the femoral artery,
Right.
there. But I don't think
Even
that
then,
would kill you. Like,
it would take you a while to bleed out. So
I mean, don't women bleed out of there all the time anyway? And we don't see them dropping dead all over the place.
boom. Period joke. I think that might be our first period joke.
I think that is the first period joke.
I said I was above those jokes. but I'm not.
Sweet. We made it into the period joke before our 50th episode.
Before 46, 47, whatever on now. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. All right. So she falls on the ground, and that's it. We're gone. So we're back to so now we cut to Williams lying in bed with a girl with no top on. Good looking girl, no top, phone rings.
He's in bed with his prostitute.
Yeah, we're gonna get. Yeah.
He's at his prostitute's house. Like, again, how does this work? Like,
Unless that's
tires
her,
must have been different back then.
it's got to be her business. It's got to be her job. She has her Johns come to her. She knows she knows the area. She knows it's safe. My guess is she only takes safe, reliable clients like a cop. So yeah, phone call, and she answers the phone, and the voice on the phone is asking for Lieutenant Williams. She wakes him up. He answers the phone, and it's quacking, it's saying, oh, I killed again. Quack, 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 quack. I killed again. You would never catch me. And he's like, who is this? What's going on? And he's kind of taunting Williams. Williams hangs up the phone and goes, did you tell anybody I was here? Have you told anybody I was here? Because obviously, this is the prostitute's house. And she's like, look, I keep a very strict clientele. I don't tell anybody about this. So how does this guy know that Williams is there? Ooh.
Yeah, there is a one point where he was like, "Get me a cup of coffee," and she's like, "I'm not paid to get you coffee.
Yeah,
Make
like,
your own
I'm
coffee."
a prostitute, not your wife.
Yes,
Your own.
So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, and I agree there. Like, they never really explain how the killer knows where all these people are at all points in time. Like, there's no explanation to this whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, why the killer shows up at the places he does and kills people he does, and then how he's calling Lieutenant. And this is 80s. I mean, this is not like technology's not like
early 80s.
Yeah,
82.
It's not like he's tracking people with like GPS or cell phone.
Well, to their credit, how does Jason find you in the woods every fucking time? I mean, he just does.
He's got the natural built-in kind of GPS going on. Yeah. So I just find that kind of weird. Because this is early 80s. I mean, because a lot of this, the music in this is pretty fucking good, too. I don't know nobody else agree with that, but I thought the music was pretty fucking groovy, like upbeat disco, like disco's last breaths, just kind of fast, kind of groovy disco music,
which I've told you guys this, but I get a lot of the vinyls that are horror soundtracks, just because I love them, and I think quite a few of his movies have been pressed, even recently again, because people love it.
Yeah, it's like,
I don't know about this one.
Like that kind of stuff.
Need to look into that. Yeah,
it's good. So then we got back to let's see, where am I at? Okay,
we basically just skip to Jane again, who basically
Jane is the lady in the theater with the tape recorder.
With the tape recorder.
Annie
She basically she gives the tapes of her sexual experiences to her husband, who gets off on listening to him.
Who is just about having an orgasm listening to him. He's sitting in a chair. He looks like he just took a big old bump of heroin, and he's just kind of like, he's got his mouth open. He's drooling. He's just kind of listening to this sex sound.
Yeah, but there's really nothing to
it.
the scene. So we're just going to skip to one of the craziest scenes in this entire movie, in cinema, really, because this thing, it's fucking insane. Jane goes into a billiards hall, a pool hall, and basically gets toe fucked by a young Yadi Molina.
We didn't set this. You didn't set that up very well.
No, I'm gonna let you take care of it, but it's fucking
you just
bonkers.
went right to it. Yeah, she's sitting in her husband, before let's backtrack to the husband, she's like, can I borrow the Porsche? Yes, honey, I don't have to work at the hospital today. So these people have money.
Yes.
Okay, these are wealthy people who will probably be at the opera or at the, a Broadway play or something like that. And she's at this shitty, sleazy pool hall with, just with these four dudes who are all wearing tank tops who don't have jobs. Okay, so they're sitting around,
and she's wearing like fancy clothes. She looks very nice.
She's wearing the same trench coat that she was at the theater.
But she didn't belong in that bar.
No, she did not. And these guys walk over to her. They start kind of like, oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, they're just talking to her, and she's not saying anything, but you can tell she's like tense, a little scared, but is like ready to jump up, but is like staying there because they start hitting on her, and she seems to kind of be liking it.
She drew them over too. She really,
taking long looks. Guys come over, and just out of nowhere, it's like, well, we take a bet to see if she's wearing any underwear. Pops off his shoe, barefoot. One guy puts his foot in there between her legs, and you got a shot underneath the table of his foot going between her legs. The other guy goes, I bet I can go farther, because one guy goes, I don't.
Now, what the listeners can't see is that Aaron is putting his foot into Marshall's crotch right now. It's very uncomfortable for me.
And Marshall does not seem to be reacting one way or another.
Under this table.
Kind of the way this lady acted. She did not really react one way or another for a while until this guy starts really getting that foot in there, and we have a shot of her actual panties. He's sticking his foot into the side of her panties. We can see some pubic hair. It's getting pretty graphic.
Yes.
It's getting pretty graphic. And she starts getting kind of worked up, just breathing deep and sweating a little bit. And oh God. And she's getting into it. And the scene is about 5 minutes long.
Yeah, it's long.
Now,
And-
I have seen something. This scene is famous for something, and when I watched it, I know I've seen it made fun of, or I know I've seen it redone in a horror, and I still couldn't find it, but it wasn't, I didn't watch this, but I feel like it's a famous scene. Like, people must have been talking about that in the 80s and even
Yeah,
90s.
probably.
Like, have you seen this fucking movie?
It's pretty intense.
Well, that's what it says. Like, it's all, it's so controversial and graphic and like out there. Like, it's a crazy, crazy scene.
Yes.
Like, I was like, how is this? Like, only I guess in European cinema would you see something like this.
It was pretty graphic, pretty intense. Because I'm watching, I was mesmerized. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
watching. I'm just like, whoa, this is really weird, but I kind of like it. Yeah, it was pretty, like, lots of close-ups again of her lips, his lips going, yeah, tell me you like it,
His
and then her
toe in her vag.
his buddy is sitting there drinking beer, going, yeah, so
having
it's-
her take sips of the beer.
Yeah,
Yeah, have
he's
some beer.
feeding her beer. He's not forcing anything. He's like, I want some beer. He's like, meh. She's drinking the beer. He's giving it to
Well,
her.
at first he was forcing her down to the table. He was holding her down.
He kind
to
of
the
held her
table.
there, but then she didn't really try too hard. She didn't like fight it. She's going.
She did say a few times, like, stop.
She like in a quivery. It's
But anyway,
real
yeah.
kind. It's like borderline rapey, but she's there in it.
I
I
just
think
want to
she's-
comment again that the guy who's toe fucking her, to me, to St. Louis listeners, he looks like young, thin Yachty Molina. Did anybody else see that?
You're
Or-
getting sued for sure. He looked like nobody to me, Marshall. I don't know what he looked like.
Oh, God. Oh.
So the scene is
Fuck you
building
guys.
and building and building, and they show under the table. She's like rocking back and forth now into this. It's getting to a climax, and then the guy jumps up, throws the table back, and goes,
Like, gotcha.
Yeah.
Like, so just again, like, yeah, the guy is toe fucking her under the table. The friend, it's like he can tell she's about to climax, and they both jump up. He pulls the table, almost like, is this something you do as a joke to women every day?
Right, like,
Like,
gotcha.
yeah, like, what was, I didn't get it.
Like, Ashton Kutcher's going to come right now and say, you got punked.
Yeah. It was so weird. Like, and the guys are like, ha ha, we got you. Give each other a high five. And she like covers herself up and runs out the door.
you assholes,
Like,
yeah.
what was the point of that?
I think
Yeah,
it's
the
to show-
point of this scene, like, as crazy as it is, and some people may love it and as erotic and shocking as it is, but I don't understand why the point of this was even in the movie. Like, it has no connection to anything else in this movie at all, other than just to be shocking and to fill time.
I think it's to show her promiscuity.
Yes,
How do you say that?
promiscuity.
Promiscuity,
But
yes,
they
yes.
do that like several other times in this movie too. And
They've already
at
established it with her,
the sex show, and then they establish it in another scene that coming up. But so this one doesn't really need to be in the movie. It's just there for, I think, shock value alone.
Now this is whenever the description on Amazon or whatever, it called it, which I'm sure because you researched the hell out of these things, so you probably read this somewhere, but it's called Italian Giallo.
Yeah, Giallo film.
I'm not even saying that right, like Giallo.
I know exactly. Yeah, that's how I
I've
would
read
pronounce
that
it.
word probably a million times, like in all the horror mags and going to horror hound conventions and stuff. And I guess I never really understood what they were referencing, but apparently that is a genre of Italian slasher films
Mm-hmm.
in the 60s, more 70s and early 80s. But they always throw in that sexuality and that
They're
intenseness.
It's basically
and
like soft porn, almost horror movies.
even
from
if
the
it,
film.
like you just said, doesn't really fit in and there's no reason for it, they're gonna put it in there, and they
Or-
still
yeah.
make them today. Every now and
That's
then you'll
that's
get
pretty
one.
much exactly. I looked up the word. I looked up research what it meant, and that's pretty much exactly.
Yeah.
we nailed
Huh.
pretty much exactly what it is.
Yeah, so real weird. Kind of liked it. Maybe I have to look up some more of those films. So kind of strange. It was kind of a letdown, that pullback though. Oh well.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
oh, I loved it because he's sitting there toe banging and goes, Morales, he has silver toes. Yeah, he has silver toes. It's so weird. It's really strange. So then we cut to a subway.
he toe fucked her so hard she had to call a tow truck.
Oh,
What? Boo.
Stupid.
Boo.
I don't know. I kind of liked it. Tow truck. Wah, wah. Okay. Well, someone had to take the subway because that's where we're at right now. Is that a good segue?
Yes, yeah.
All right, good. So we're on the subway, and the subway is old fucking New York subway, graffiti all over the place, lights flickering on and off. It's like super duper shitty subway.
This might be the most
And-
unbelievable scene in this entire movie.
So
right now.
we have a gal sitting, a good looking, pretty preppy gal who's wearing kind of a, she looks like she's almost like in prep school or something, maybe a little older, college kind of person.
She's at least college.
Yeah,
level.
and so she's sitting by herself on the subway. Nobody's on the cars except for one guy, and it's the guy who is in the porno theater
missing the finger.
missing the two fingers.
And that's why I say it's the most unbelievable scene because it's New York. Like I don't think there'd ever be a subway with just two people on it.
No.
A car, possibly a car. Late at night, maybe one of the cars, but there still would be people in the other cars,
Yeah.
on the platforms, things like
Yeah,
that.
it's like these are the
So-
only two people in New York.
I always
Right.
thought that as a kid with Tom Cruise and Rebecca De Mornay in Risky Business. Do you remember that movie?
Never seen it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God! She was naked the whole movie. It was awesome. But they have sex on a subway car, and I'm like, even at 3 a.m, isn't it the city that never sleeps? There would be a
Exactly.
million people. But the girl
Yeah.
reminds me of Amy. What's her name from Road Trip and the
Amy
Crank
Smart.
movies? Amy Smart.
Yeah.
That- she looked
Right.
like that
She
to
does
me.
kinda look
She
like
does
Amy
kind of look
Smart.
like
Yeah.
Amy Smart, like an
So we got
Italian.
Annie Lennox, Amy Smart, and
Yeah.
that
Young
other
Lottie
person.
Molina.
No, I'm not saying that.
and Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
And Bradley Cooper.
So he's kind of giving her the creepy stare, and she's looking at him like, "Oh fuck, I'm alone in this fucking car with this."
Hold on. You'll say that the doctor looks like Bradley Cooper, and she looks like Amy Smart, but you won't say you refuse to say the guy looks like Yachty Molina because you're afraid Yachty's gonna sue you.
Yachty's local, man.
Well,
he
he's
doesn't
low.
take
He,
shit.
he
Yeah.
lives like 2 miles away, Marshall. Get out of here. Talking about him toe fucking some girl in a pool hall. That's all. That's the only quip we need from the RFT tomorrow.
Oh shit! All right, so back on the train. Three-fingered right-hand man is creeping out Amy Smart. Lights flicker off. She looks over. Doesn't see him. Next thing you know, bam! He's in front of her, giving her a creepy look. She gets up, trying to move to another car. The door is jammed. He kind of starts coming at her, giving her fucking weirdo, sexy eyes. Can't
Closer
really
and
tell.
closer. I felt like
Walking
the eyes were
closer.
very black,
Yes,
too.
yes,
Yeah.
I agree. And luckily, the train stops, and she's able to squeak out and starts running away. And then there's no one on the platform. There's nobody on the platform, nothing to say like help or and she's running through this. She starts booking it. She's running off the platform through the actual station, long hallway of the station, nobody around. Starts running down the street, running on the street, nobody on the
I know,
street.
Nobody on the streets of New York City.
Yeah, so she's running away. She starts to slow down. She's out of breath. She hasn't been running that far. You need to work out a little bit, lady. You gotta work on that cardio a
The
little
thing
bit.
is,
get
she is
get
supposed to be
get
some
some
kind
of that
of athlete.
P90X. Yeah.
Because she was hoping to get gold at LA or something. I guess at the '84 Olympics or
Well-
whatever it was that was coming up. 'Cause
Yeah,
they
What's
commented-
that? I missed that. What?
Later in the movie, her boyfriend says something because after what happened, she's like, "Oh, once you get your leg better, you were going to
Oh,
go for gold
yeah,
in LA or
okay,
something like that."
okay,
So she's some
yeah.
kind of athlete.
Well,
of
she
something.
definitely needs to step up her fucking game.
Yeah.
Get some P90X or something like that. I mean, god damn. So she finally runs out of breath and she's leaning against this grate, and she starts to hear this like shuffling behind her, and it really sounded like someone's going brains.
I was just gonna say, it
Yeah.
sounded like zombies or something
It
coming
sounded
out
like
of
a
her.
fucking zombie was right behind her going brains. Did you get that?
Kind of, yes. And there was some other scene where somebody said something, and this just takes me back. A lot of times they throw in weird shit, like when he was like, "Oh my balls,"
Yeah,
or like the brains.
yeah.
And there was another scene where somebody said something, and I could have swore he said, "I eat kids and chickens," and I was like, I don't even know what it was,
Missed
but
that one.
it's because of the overdubbing. You can't, and the sounds they put in with that. But I agree. I thought it was like a monster movie.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's a zombie behind her, but she's like, fuck it, I'm moving on. Rounds a corner, right into... There is the killer! Then the killer slices her leg, and it's a good shot of the leg getting sliced.
It's
Which
a
you-
deep gash,
And you
too.
can't see the killer really,
No,
though.
you
You see
can't.
like the hand,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
You see the hand come up, and he's wearing a rubber glove, and he's coming, so he slashes her. He raises the knife to come down with what's probably going to be the death blow, but she moves out of the way, and bink! His knife hits a brick wall, making a real loud sound, and making a big mark of kind of a spark or dust.
The sound is so loud.
It sounds like
piercing. It sounds like something you'd hear like an old like martial arts kung fu movie, like two like
swords,
katanas hitting together or something like that.
Exactly. So she runs away, and she runs into another movie theater. She runs into a movie theater with nobody in it, but there's a movie playing.
It's a complete like you're being chased by a killer. You're almost killing him. He's like, I'm going to decide to take a load off in this empty movie theater.
Yeah,
let me just rest here for a minute. And it basically sounds like it sounds like it's playing like a Yosemite Sam cartoon,
right? Yeah,
because like it's
yeah, it's like sound effects, like whoop, boom, it's
you varmint, something like that.
So there's something going on, and she's got her leg slashed. So I understand that she's hobbling and moving slow, but I agree, you don't stop, you keep moving. She sits down, she's trying to like mend her leg, look at her leg. She's not really worried about she's not watching Yosemite Sam. She's kind of looking at her legs, and she's got her legs spread, she's got a skirt on, and from underneath the seat, two hands come up between her legs and start feeling on her legs and grabbing at her crotch, and it's real weird.
Making like noises like ha ha ha,
yeah.
like some kind of weird like yelling noise.
It's a really weird scene. So doesn't have a knife anymore. He's just kind of grabbing at her, and she freaks and slaps his hands away, runs down the hall, starts running up the hall to get out of the theater, which he should have done in the first place, and then runs into a man. You see his face, you see him, and it's got to be the killer because he rips out. Now he has a straight edge razor. He doesn't have the knife, and just starts slicing the shit out of her. Just slicing her up, and close-ups of her getting sliced.
Cut her throat.
Cut her throat,
Yeah,
cut her legs.
Finishing move. There's a shot of him like slashing her across like the side of the our
like
torso.
love handle area.
Yeah, and it's a pretty brutal. Some of these are pretty brutal looking cuts.
Just slicing her up, and the creme de la creme is the slice across the throat. She's screaming, and when she's still screaming, and it's wakes up in the hospital. So she's alive in the hospital. So,
and has no cuts on her face.
No cuts on her
anything.
face, no cuts on her neck, on her side. The only thing she did get was this cut on the leg. So here we are. We have learned that she has survived the attack. She must have ran away and gotten some help, because the only cut that she has is that cut she originally suffered from the knife.
Yes.
So there we are.
And this is where we enter her boyfriend, whose name is Peter Bunch, basically comes to see her.
Mm-hmm. Who is the guy?
It's just the guy who from the dream part where she saw attacking her.
And she even says it. She goes, I had a dream that you were the killer, that you were the one slicing me up. And he's like, no, I would never do that.
Yeah.
And so
this guy, part of it's the dubbing and the voiceover work, but the way, since we're comparing people, this guy reminds me of a young Keanu Reeves. And he looks so proud of himself every time he gets the line out.
Yeah.
Like, he has this look on his face like, look, Mom, I said it. I said my line. It's so weird. This way guy, I don't know.
I'm
weird.
just thinking when she's standing outside of the theater before she runs in and the killer misses, she, misses her.
Yeah.
She's looking right at whoever it is. There's never an indication of a mask or anything.
That's
so
not a really good point. They never.
So she would have seen the face of the person doing that, right?
Yeah.
And then
She does say that she had some hazy memory. She doesn't remember, but she's able to remember that he doesn't have two. Like, this is what she says. She says the killer had only 3 fingers on the right hand. So she's saying. She says that she remembers
because she did notice that in the subway, though.
Yeah,
in the subway, you see her. She looks at his hand, and it does a close up.
That's like the first thing she sees of him.
So she's assuming that this guy is the guy that tried to kill her. So,
so it starts setting up Mickey Two Fingers as the killer.
Yeah, when we find out, we will find out his name is Mickey, because then we get a cut of the guy with 2 fingers going into a seedy hotel with Annie Lennox.
With Jane, who. She pays him $40 basically to take her up and tie her to a bed in her bra and panties and fuck her.
And you didn't even see them meet, right?
No,
like they just roll up in the car together.
You have no idea how they meet. They're in the car together, and she pays him.
Yeah.
So, she's a freak.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I wanted to bring up, but I don't know if it took place right here, but so the cop, who we haven't mentioned in a while, this guy that's like trying to solve the case, I do love how he's acting like all hardcore, and he's not even supposed to be here today, and he looks like he's like 68 or 70.
He's
like,
old. He's
I
a bit
mean,
older.
he shouldn't be the one addressing this case, but there's a scene where he's talking to a law enforcement officer at a desk, and he's trying to get information. I think it's after this girl was put in the hospital, but they're talking, and it keeps cutting to him smoking a cigarette, and then cutting back to the other officer, and right behind him is a no smoking sign that it keeps kind of zeroing in on. And I was like,
that.
what are they doing here? Why? I don't know. There was just a
totally
weird
missed
back
that
and
because
forth.
they smoke everywhere.
Yeah,
in this movie.
yeah, they do.
They don't give a shit where they are.
Yeah.
Somebody's always smoking.
Early 80s,
Yeah.
Yeah, you could smoke anywhere you wanted to smoke.
So you got the guy and the girl going into the hotel.
Yeah, they go in the hotel. So I'm just going to stick in the hotel. He ties her up. He ties Annie Lennox up. And he's got some pretty sweet fucking funky tunes on going. He walks over and he makes a phone call and he cranks the tune so you can't hear what he's saying.
Like first he started to kind of like rev her up, like
Yeah.
he's rubbing on her, and she's like, she lets it. Let's put that out. She lets him tie her up, like
Right.
she wants that to happen. And then he goes over.
Yeah, and it makes a phone call. And he said, you can't really hear what he's saying, but I was able to make up, yeah, she's right up your alley with some of your pervy shit. And he even said something to that effect.
Huh.
So
I didn't get
the
anything.
next scene, we see Davis at a magazine booth, like a newsstand where you can buy magazines and newspapers.
David is the psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist,
Bradley
Dr.
Cooper.
Davis.
Bradley Cooper.
So he's going through, and he's looking at different gay porn mags, and he's like, I'll take this one.
Honcho and Blue Boy.
Blue Boy. he wound up taking Blue Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he takes Blue Boy, puts it in a paper, and the guy's like, here you go, it's $3. He's like, thank you very much. And then it cuts. So that was kind of weird to see Davis buying gay porn. So and then it cuts back to Annie Lennox, pardon me, in bed, and looks like she got her, rocks off. She's still tied up, and she's naked in bed, lying next to Mickey Two Fingers.
And she's all scratched up now at this point too. She's got like scratch marks all across her chest and stomach.
She's got
from
some
this.
scratches
so
on
that
her.
was some rough going.
There's a whipping scene that's edited.
Oh.
So, and it's only been put out on one Blu-ray, but apparently it was
that
like,
explains like like I said, many of these versions of this movie are.
yeah, there's a
sourced
lot
different
more
cut.
to that sex scene, I guess, and they cut that out.
Okay.
Which makes sense because she goes from wearing still wearing her bra and panties and her stockings to just them sleeping and she's completely naked.
Yeah,
I just thought it was they just got done doing it.
Yeah,
But
like that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Something happened because she went from fine to
Sure.
scratched up naked to. And
Yeah, but
they
so
cut-
they're both sleeping it off, but she's still tied up, and the music's still playing. And the DJ comes on the radio saying, "Hey, we got a bunch of commercials coming up to you, but one thing I want to say is, men of New York, and if you're listening, Mister, no two fingers on the right hand, why are you doing that to all the lovely ladies? Why you got to do that?" And then it pans over to, Annie Lennox looking at her gigolo's hand, and he's got only 3 fingers on the right hand.
Yeah.
So she starts going, she starts
she's
panic.
tied up. He's
She's
sleeping
tied
next
up.
to her.
She's sleeping, right. She's panicking, and she starts to kind of use her mouth to free herself. She's able to get her hand free. It's kind of like she's using her tongue, too.
Yeah.
That was kind of weird.
Yeah,
I don't know.
she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
So she-
manages to get out
Until
of
that moment, I thought she could be in on the killings. I didn't know what the phone call meant when the radio went up, but I
Yeah.
thought she was in cahoots with this guy
Right.
because they were both in the theater
Right.
when that sex actress got attacked.
So she's managed to get free. She grabs her trench coat and her purse, and she books out the door. So she starts running out the door, and one of the exits is locked. It's not open.
It's like every door in this hotel room or hotel hallway is locked.
And-
Like every exit, every door is like what?
She goes from one end, locked, all the way to the other end, crosses back across the room that she was at, and down the other hall, door won't open. So how? What's going on? Why is the place all locked
That's
up?
exactly what I was thinking too. Is like
That's like the worst hotel ever.
That's against the fire code, right?
Yes,
there.
right. Yeah,
bad.
that's a
It's
fire
like Hotel
safety hazard.
California. Once you get there, you're never going to leave. Shit.
Yeah.
So you're stuck. So she's stuck. And help me with this, guys, because this is what I remember. She starts kind of panicking. She turns to go down the hall again, and there is a short, shadowy figure with long hair. Looks like
It's a mirror. She turns a corner and she's looking into a mirror.
It was a
It's
mirror?
a mirror of her.
Okay.
And she's looking because you don't see her face, but It's totally a mirror.
And because I didn't notice that, I must have been taking notes because I looked up and I'm like, is that a little old lady in front of her?
No, it's a mirror.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that I didn't
It's
catch
a weird
that.
choice to make too, but like, why would they do that? But it's a mirror.
So she turns around to run, I guess, to try and find some sort of exit.
Yeah.
And then Quacky shows up.
Now, and at this point, you had seen that the guy was still sleeping in the bed.
He was still sleeping in the
Butt
bed.
naked, too.
He was naked.
Butt
and
naked.
The hand the hand that comes out is wearing the latex gloves, and it's a long sleeve black shirt.
Okay.
So this guy, unless three fingers got dressed in a black shirt and put on latex glove, this guy can't be the killer. So stabs her in the chest, dead center, slices on down, blood everywhere. She falls back dead.
She's basically like eviscerated from
Yeah.
from her lower stomach up to like her chest. Like,
Yeah.
and again, sometimes I have problems because of the way the people are cut in this movie. Because not so much that it's happened, but it's because of like the knife the killer's using doesn't seem like it would rip somebody open that easily, that smoothly. Because it's like no effort. He's doing this one-handed, but he just like gets her and then cuts her like a fish. Like,
yeah, it
all
was
the way up.
probably a
So
Cutco knife.
yeah, it's gotta be one of those Japanese like one of the
Ginsu
knives or something.
You can cut through a metal can and slice the tomato nice and smooth.
Yeah, but it's like most of it's like a little switchblade that looks like you could stab something, but I don't know. It would seem like take at least two hands to eviscerate somebody like that. But.
So she's dead. All right, and it was like they were building a lot of story around her.
Yeah.
And then she got killed.
Exactly.
Kind of like, oh man. So she's a goner. So then we cut to the cops interviewing the husband about the wife's death, and the husband's kind of broken up.
I just skipped to.
But it was kind of funny. They were able to identify that this is Mickey the Greek.
Yeah, Mickey. He's
the
got
Greek.
some last name, but he's a Greek guy.
Yeah, it's like they make a very.
Yeah,
They really want you to know he's Greek.
Really, the only thing, nothing really happens. So let's just skip a little ahead to the cops when they're raiding Mickey's apartment.
Yeah.
And they find just a treasure trove of porn.
Porn everywhere. I mean, on the walls, on the floor, on the couch, everywhere.
And this is the point. It's all mags, like porn pictures, like Hustler, Penthouse, and and they find a few needles and drug paraphernalia.
Yeah, they find some heroin underneath the pillow, and then they find a pipe on the floor.
Yeah, this is the pipe we talked about earlier. So you guys go ahead. And take
which
this
is
one.
the bowl of the pipe, the bottom of his balls, and the stem you smoke is a cock.
Yeah.
So
Mickey was into some weird stuff, man.
Into some weird stuff. You're literally smoking cock. And smoking.
You guys notice, like the end of that pipe, it was well used.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. It was real dark and worn.
Yeah, the coloration was different, and it was worn. They're like bite marks.
And it was pretty funny. Because when they do in the tear apart the scene, it's a POV shot, and it's kind of funny when they show like one of the other cops find the pipe, and it looks under and goes, "Look at this thing."
Yeah.
And he holds it up, and you see Lieutenant Williams leaning up against the wall, smoking like Mr. Cool, and he kind of waves him over,
like check out this cock
he's
pipe.
like, yeah, bring that over here to me.
Let me take a gander at this.
So
This looks like fun.
moving ahead. Basically, Peter now has brought Faye back to his apartment, and Dr. Davis shows up, and he asks if she's certain that it was Mickey Two Fingers or Three Fingers that attacked her, and you're like, why? He's like, yeah, it was him, and not much happens from
Dr. Davis has been putting together a profile that the killer is most likely a very intelligent person from a wealthy family who something has gone wrong. So this Mickey the Greek does not fit the profile.
Yeah, that's basically it. We find out in one of these scenes that Faye supposedly also has an IQ of 182, which makes no point.
Which I think is higher than Albert Einstein's.
Yeah, who knows? But like, there's no reason to even mention that. It's not like she ever show her do anything with it.
But
So
maybe
she's
you
like
think she could be the killer now.
So
or
maybe she's
something,
supposed to be like
right?
an Olympic caliber athlete with a super high education or IQ as well. So eventually Faye's left alone in the apartment, and she starts snooping around, and it leads her upstairs to the attic where she finds a room basically set up for a young girl. Like I don't think it's quite bad. I think it's more like a playroom.
Right.
And there's just lots of dolls everywhere.
Which they had referenced in their conversation, the boyfriend and girlfriend. He said something about Susie's room or something. He mentioned something like, you can stay down here, and
I missed that conversation.
Yeah.
And she also finds medical bills from a Memorial Hospital. While she's looking around in this room, Mickey Two Fingers breaks into the apartment to try to kill her.
Not very gracefully either.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, he smashes down a window.
Which I found funny. He's trying to be. He just breaks the window, which is loud, shattering glass. But then he like takes his time, like goes trying to be super quiet when he like does the lock on the window.
Cover's
like,
blown, brother. You already smashed a window.
Yeah, at that point just going guns blazing.
Yeah.
There's no point in being quiet. But Peter comes back just in time, scares Mickey off. He takes off. He gets out of there.
Now, when Mickey was like, it's a long scene, but he finds her hiding under the bed or whatever upstairs, and they start wrestling. He did say something to the effect of like, "Bitch, why'd you do it?" or something. So he said that line, like, why
are you framing me?
Yes, yeah.
He didn't kill anybody.
Because she's saying that it's him.
Yeah.
He's a perv, but he's not a killer.
Yeah, that's kind of leads us to because the next time we see Mickey, his body is later found laying in tall weeds along the coastline of either like the Hudson River or some bay or something, and he's got a plastic bag over his head.
Oh, that comes later.
Well, this is this is what I sped through because my sickness. Notes I wrote, a lot of it's real jumpy.
Because we're tracking down, they're trying to. So I don't. My iPad just died, so my notes are gone.
But basically, what I get next is like Lieutenant Williams is waiting like their call center, and he gets another call from the killer saying that he's going to kill his prostitute Kitty, and they're tracing tracing the call.
So this was ancient technology. So we're looking at basically this entire room.
It's like when the first computer was the size of a whole room.
Yeah.
It's like the first phone tapping device. Takes up an entire room. It looks like the command center, like NASA.
Right. It's huge. It's a huge room, and it's just this guy, a couple guys in white lab coats, smoking cigarettes with like headphones on, going, "Keep him on the line, keep him talking."
All these weird dials are turning in the background, like these lettered thing. It looks like a telegraph's going off or something. Like, what is happening?
Really
here?
strange. So
now I think there was one other scene somewhere where he was in a station, the cop, and he took a call, and it was the duck guy just messing with him, because that's how they got to like, okay, he's gonna call you again. Let's set up this sting.
Yeah. Well, at the very beginning, he said you got a call, but you missed it. It was the duck guy.
Yeah.
So, but he didn't. He wasn't. He didn't.
So
get the call.
duck guy calls. They're tracking the number. He's like, they track it to a phone booth near the
pier, like basically
near the Brooklyn Bridge again. So not too far away from where they found the first body.
And they take their sweet ass time, like get into that phone booth. Like they all pull up, they get out of the car, but nobody like approaches the phone booth.
They get out of the car and just slowly start walking towards.
And someone just standing with their guns pointed at the phone booth, like it's a phone booth, it's glass.
Well, no, it was graffitied up.
I know, but before I realized, like, just look in there.
Yeah.
A phone
you
booth.
should be able to see him.
I did find it strange that I guess because it was a bunch of like a serial killer, but they used a helicopter. Remember, they're talking to a helicopter that,
Oh, you mean the helicopter pilot who didn't even want to be there?
Yeah.
Because he's like, how much longer do I gotta be up here, guys? Come on.
And they go 10 minutes. He goes, Mega 5.
You're trying to catch a serial killer. Just
dick.
hang out a while.
What an asshole.
Basically, they find out that he's got like this giant ass walkie-talkie next to the phone receiver, so he's not there, and he's
still on it.
He's still on and they're here, and he's at Kitty's apartment with Kitty tied to the bed,
the prostitute,
and he's like, I want Lieutenant Williams to hear as I kill her and her scream, and her death is brutal.
Yeah,
he takes out just one thin, like one
straight
edge razor,
like a old razor that you'd use to
not the flip razor, but just a razor blade, a razor blade, and he starts slicing her like down her stomach with this, and he even like slices her nipple in
In
half.
And they have a close-up view.
God.
It's a close-up
That
view of that.
effect is so good. I
Yeah.
will say that it is a good effect because it is like, oh god, it makes you squirmish.
Yeah.
And
she's
then he cuts her
screaming
from her
and-
forehead, like down. He cuts through her eyeball.
Her right eye, going
Yeah.
down her forehead. She doesn't shut her eye, which I thought
Right.
was weird, but he cuts her eyeball in half.
Yeah, and
ugh.
it's a pretty gruesome, good effect for. I mean, it's a really good effect.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's basically she's dead.
But so Williams is like, he's like, let's go there. It's funny because when he hears this happening on the walkie-talkie when he's at the telephone booth, you can tell he's just kind of like, well, if I tell him exactly where the place is, they're gonna know I'm banging a prostitute. So he's just
I
kind
know
of like,
he takes his time, like
he's basically like weighing whether or not he should tell him, that where this place. I know where this place is. I go there all the time.
yeah. I thought
you know.
the same thing. Like, why is he taking so long to get
What
there?
an asshole!
Like, he should have opened up the phone booth, and as soon as he says he's not here, I'm like, oh shit, okay, he's there.
Yes.
And but he stands there for like 2 minutes
Yeah.
while he's being killed before he's like, all right, now we'll go.
I guess we'll go now. I guess
yeah.
now my conscience. Now that I hear her screaming,
Yeah.
I guess we should get over there. So he's trying to get over there. Traffic is a bitch. It's all gridlock. He gets literally across the street and gets out of the car and starts running. And he is he literally runs across the street and immediately is out of breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, he like stops to catch his breath like 3 times between getting from the car into the
Worst
apartment.
cop ever. What a son
Well,
of a bitch.
being a
What's he
smoker in his
smoking all the
70s,
time?
yeah. It's
Or
like
he
a-
smokes nonstop.
Still, that's horrible. Just awful.
Okay, so yeah,
So
now
he gets upstairs, he breaks in,
yeah.
finally, and he finds her dead. No one to be found. No evidence of the guy. The guy's gone. And she's dead, all sliced up.
Yeah, and this is where no, right now we find they showed Mickey's body, and some of this stuff I'm skipping some like lesser details, just getting out the main points. But the really next thing that really happens of any major, at least in my mind, that really matters is that Faye goes to Memorial Hospital and she finds a young blonde girl who has all of her limbs except for her left arm have been amputated.
She's missing her right leg.
All of her limbs.
Oh, you said all of her limbs.
Yeah, she's missing both legs
No.
except for left
Whatever.
arm. And
I
she,
misunderstood.
Hold on, everything is gone except for the left arm?
yeah,
Oh, I didn't
'Cause-
catch that.
yeah. It's like she's like. It's
I
like
saw the right
above
arm gone.
It's like right above the knees. They're gone. Like her legs are gone because they're very like stubby.
Wow.
So and she basically lives underneath a plastic tent.
Yeah.
Back at the apartment.
Oh, what kind of phone did she have? Did you not notice the
There's
telephone
a
that was
phone
in
there, but she has a toy duck
with
next.
a big duck on top of it?
Yeah.
It's not a duck phone. It's just, but she had like this plastic duck next in her room. Back at the apartment, Faye's getting ready to cook dinner, and notices that one of the knives has a broken tip on it. The tip's been broken, and she thinks this is from her attacker.
She has a flashback.
where it's missed her and like hit that chinky noise that hit in the wall.
Ching! Yeah.
So for some reason now, Lieutenant Williams and Dr. Davis have also found the young girl, and it goes into more explanation about how the girl is the motive behind all the killings because she'll never be able to grow up to be a normal woman.
Not that much more explanation,
it's-
though.
that's
The way they
basically-
you're still lost.
They
as
wrapped it
they're-
up really fast.
Yeah.
They glossed over
and
that.
She's blonde and
I was going to ask you with your iPod pad down, you might not know, but they do give like a very scientific medical.
her lift none. All they
Basically, what's really wrong with her and why
Okay.
she's dying. But
All
I don't
they said
remember
was that I was listening for. All they said was that her lymphatic system is totally shot. That's all they said.
what. Okay.
So who knows what the cause of the disease is?
All right. So back at the apartment, the phone rings. Peter picks it up, and we hear the duck voice on the phone. And you're like, wait, what? And again, it zooms in, so all you see is like the phone and Peter's eye, and while all this conversation is going on with the duck, and then it zooms out. It cuts to Faye, who's also on the phone, who overhears the conversation. But the way it was shot, the first time I watched was like, was she calling him?
Was she being Duck Lady?
That's exactly what I
But I'm like,
thought.
how would she call the house from the house?
Unless
like,
he's got 2 separate lines or something.
Yeah.
There was a way to do that. They've used that in horror movies before. Back in the day, you could use your phone and make another phone ring. I'm almost positive that's a thing. But that's why I thought
never
that.
heard of that.
Yeah.
But I was like, because I was like, what's happening? But so Peter goes looking for Faye and finds her upstairs in Susie's room, which caused him to freak out. He's like, don't go in her room. Don't go in her room. And she gets up to the top of the stairs, and he's just stabbed twice in the stomach by Faye.
She has the blunt knife and turns around and stabs him in the gut twice.
It's not a blunt knife. It's a new knife.
No, they showed the knife missing. So maybe he grabbed that same knife.
I don't know.
The blunt knife. Whatever.
Anyway,
she stabbed the shit out of him.
yeah.
He falls down the
all
stairs.
the way down the stairs. And at the bottom, she goes to step over his body at the bottom, and he springs back to life, and he's talking in the duck voice.
Duck voice.
And he mounts her, and he's about to kill her when he's shot in the face by Lieutenant Williams. And his face explodes and shatters like it's a porcelain vase or something.
Yeah.
All the other effects in this movie have been pretty brutal.
good,
Realistic.
yeah.
This one is just comically
You can
bad.
tell it's like a plaster mold of the actor's
like a
face.
clay molded painted. Yeah.
And they filled it with red
Just a
beef
hollow
and
out
glue.
mold.
And,
Yeah.
And then when it gets shot, it definitely has a shattering kind of effect.
Yeah.
And you could tell like it's a mannequin or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
And so after
But
that,
until he jumped up talking like a duck to attack her, I thought she was the kill. I thought he went up to check on her and she went nuts and stabbed him and was having a psychotic breakdown.
So they kind of kept you on the edge the whole time.
so basically, you get some more denouement closing up stuff with Faye, Lieutenant Williams, and Dr. Davis in the back of a car, and they're talking, just closing everything up. And it cuts to Susie, the blonde girl in the hospital, in her bed, trying to call Peter on the phone and crying because he won't answer the phone anymore. And she has a toy duck next to her bed. And if we didn't explain it, Peter is Susie's father. And they mentioned her mother basically just ran off to Brazil after they dumped her in the hospital. Was like, all right, I'm going to Brazil to live it up. And that's it. Roll credits.
So essentially, when they were wrapping it up in the back seat, Dr. Davis, Faye, and Lieutenant Williams are basically saying Peter kind of lost his mind since his daughter was never going to be able to grow up into a real woman. That's why he was targeting women that kind of resembled the way she looked.
Which is why I brought up the fact that the first girl we ever see that kill is
very
black,
dark-skinned.
And the other girl is almost redheaded, and they don't fit the mold that they keep trying to piece together.
So anyway, he says that he used the duck voice or the duck personality to make it to
take his guilt away.
Right. So
they try getting some psycho.
But then too, it really is confusing on why is it every time that he went after a girl, old Mickey Three Fingers or whatever was around.
And how does he know where? Why does he know where Jane is all the time, and why does he know where these people are? Like, it makes no sense.
Right.
The other question I have is, why would he attack Faye, his girlfriend, in the first place?
Right.
If you're trying to have the cover with her, why attack her at all?
And why?
Because if he doesn't attack her, he might never get caught because the police would never been involved. She would never have been hurt. Like, why? I don't understand why he even attacks her at all.
And you have ample opportunity all the time to kill her.
Yeah.
It's not like
it makes no sense why that happens in this movie.
That was a whoops. Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on now. Let's start wrapping. Let's move on to favorite kills.
There can be only one favorite kill.
Not a whole lot, but very brutal kills in this movie, or at least bloody. Not like chainsaws and creative, but still pretty gory, brutal.
So, Doug, you're our guest. Which one did you like?
They were all pretty memorable. I hate to use the word favorite on anything because it's kind of like, it is sick and disgusting.
Yeah, usually when we watch movies, it's pretty fun deaths. This is like, ugh.
Yeah, this wasn't like that at all. But I don't know. I kind of liked the gun to the face because then it was different than everything else. It was like all of a sudden that was fun, a fun kill. But I'll pick that one so I don't have to be the sick fuck that picks one of the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the very first death, the one with the girl in the Volkswagen, because that kind of set the tone. It's like, oh shit, it's gonna be that kind of movie, And he's stabbing her deep, cutting her close up. She's screaming. It was definitely intense. So
Let you know what you were getting into.
Yeah. It's like this is the tone.
This is the first. Like this is I think the first time we've had 3 different favorite
could
kills.
be.
Like normally at least 1 or 2 of us all have the same answer. For me, I'm going with Kitty the prostitute. Just because it's not so much it's my favorite, it was cool, but that's the one that made me like really actually quiver and like cringe because like I have this thing with eyes. Like I can't touch. Like I can never wear contacts. Anytime I see like somebody touch an eye or something, like I seriously my own like it's like I blink my eyes, like my eyes get watery.
Yeah.
So when I saw that close up of that razor going across her eyes, like I seriously I like actually my eyes like blinking and like getting watery. I'm like so. That one, that's to me, that's the one because that's the one that affected me the most. Not that it was like scary, but it was the most disturbing. I also like the movie theater, but it turned out it was fake anyway. It was a dream because it was so brutal.
Yeah.
But not because it wasn't real.
Yeah.
I don't consider it a kill. So there you go. 3 different favorite kills this week. Let's move on to the odds and the ends.
Not only did they watch these films, they researched them too. Ugh, what is wrong with these guys?
Starting with our ratings. IMDb gives it 6.4 out of 10.
Pretty good.
Pretty good, a higher one. Rotten Tomatoes, it got a 17% on the thermometer or
Pretty
tomato
low.
meter, but a 55% audience score. So a lot of difference there
Half
between
the
the
people
critics
like it,
and
yeah.
the audience. And then Amazon being Amazon,
3.5.
3.6.
Wow. Yeah.
It's on Amazon.
Is that out of 10? Out of 5? Okay.
Amazon's out of 5.
Okay.
Plot keywords. Holy shit, were there a lot of plot keywords, and you can imagine what some of them were after what we've talked about. But just some of the ones I wrote down that just are weird. Live sex show, splatterpunk, which I don't know what that even has to do with anything in this. Duck, of course. Bullet ballet, which again, I don't get that one at all because there's like the only gun fired once at the very end.
One gunshot and no.
It's not like a Matrix movie where they're dodging bullets.
Yeah.
I don't understand what bullet ballet has to do with anything. 42nd Street, Manhattan, New York City. Like that's a very
specific.
Yeah,
that's
wow.
crazy. And then muff.
Yeah, muff.
Muff.
Not vagina enough, but muff.
Yeah.
There's no nipple split in there.
Well, I think nipple and throat slashing blood.
Right.
But there was like over 200. So
Good
I was
God,
kind of scrolling quickly, trying to catch ones that caught my eye. Moving on to trivia. This film, it was filmed between April and October of 1981. The film was actually rejected in the UK for a cinema certificate, which are basically their ratings board, in 1984. The chief censor, James Furman, infamously ordered all prints of this movie to be escorted to the airport and deported from the country.
Wow.
It's a little extravagant.
Yeah.
Just throw them in the garbage, dude.
Kitty's death by razor blade was actually, like you talked about, the scene with Jane in the hotel was cut. Her death was originally longer and more gruesome, while the extra violence was cut is unsure. Don't be quite unsure why, but you can find images of it, or I guess the full scene in the Japanese DVD cover that show more gorier scenes from her death. The lead role, which I guess was Faye, was offered to an actress of Catalonia McCall, who had previously starred in Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead, and The Beyond, and House by a Cemetery. And for some reason, she was apparently a little suspicious of this role and turned down the offer. So that's really kind of curious, like what would make her suspicious, like
Yeah.
what's going on.
Hmm.
And also, it would have been the second time she starred with Paolo Malco, who that guy is the guy who played Dr. Davis.
Maybe she was confused. Maybe she thought she was going to be the one that was getting the silver toes, the little foot fucking.
Yeah.
She didn't know about that.
So after many years of being banned in Britain, the rights were purchased by a UK company called Vipco, who issued the film originally as an export-only VHS version under close censor and police supervision.
Jesus
When
Christ.
censorship laws were relaxed in the UK, it was submitted to the BBFC for a rating in 2002, where it received 22 seconds of more cuts to the razor blade murder, as well as a strict guideline that the film would only be released with minimal publicity. The film was then issued on VHS by Vipco, but the DVD release was canceled after some UK DVD distributors refused to stock it.
Jesus.
Consequently, it was never available on UK in DVD until 2007, when it was finally released by Shameless Films, and this version contained similar cuts but reduced to 19 seconds via a different edit.
So 25 years after its release, it's finally available. It was finally available in 2007
Yeah.
on DVD.
In some form, yeah,
God
but
damn.
Yeah, but still
severely
cut. Yeah.
Like, a lot of cuts.
That's bonkers.
Yeah, that's insane. All right, so now we're going to move on to everybody's favorite part of the show. We're going to play the budget game.
It's now time to play everyone's favorite game, Guess the Budget.
Now, the budget game is a little different today because it is an Italian film.
Doing lira.
I'm going to say I don't remember what the Italian money was called.
Well, it's euros now.
Yeah, but this was in 1982.
I think it was lira.
I think that sounds
Yeah.
right.
I could be wrong. So someone knows. Let me know.
I know lira is some kind of money, I believe. But we're not going to play the budget. We're going to guess the gross. What this movie, because that's the only number I could get.
Okay.
How much movie this money made in Italy in 1982. So
Okay.
there's a big challenge for you.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Do
So-
I say it in American money terms? Like just,
Just whatever number you think its money made.
$4,000.
$4,000.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not a bad guess, honestly. I'm gonna say $14,000.
You guys are gonna shit your pants when you hear how much money this movie. Again, I don't know what the conversion rate is from money from then to now in American dollars. $414,859,000
What?
Italian dollar.
Wow.
Well, that's an Italian.
Yeah, and from 1982. So I don't know what pesos to American dollars
yeah.
was, but yeah, 414 million.
I mean, that's still got to
according-
be a lot, no matter
There's-
what.
Yeah, according to
gotta-
IMDb and the only information I can find. I mean, that's like Titanic Avengers.
Yeah.
400.
If it's in the lira or whatever at the time, there's got to be a massive conversion.
Yeah,
rate.
I mean, it's gotta
like,
drop.
For example, when I was overseas, like 50 baht was the equivalent of $1 US.
Yeah.
So if you put it in that aspect, what do you say? Like 100 lira is the equivalent of $1 American. Then
Yeah.
we're talking. There's a drastic reduction.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like the peso to the
So,
dollar was really.
yeah.
v-
So I'm
drastic.
really curious.
I know that's
yeah.
right, but I just wanted to say that number because that.
You just wanted to say a big number.
Yeah.
So we have no idea.
We have no idea. But I'm just saying, like, when you look at that number, I was like 414 million anything is like for this.
That's crazy.
In 1982, nonetheless.
Yeah. But, if that's the type of thing that it's like every time where I hear about these protesters protesting a movie or say, that's immediately going to shoot up interest in it.
Oh, yeah.
And if people were talking about this thing getting banned in theaters,
But but the banning wasn't.
It's pretty much only in the UK.
Well, that was
essentially.
UK and Italy. Not this is just
yeah.
Italy, not nationwide or worldwide. But anyway, move on. We're gonna move on to 5-star reviews.
These special movies have a place in these special people's hearts. 5-star reviews.
All right, there's a few of them.
I'm sure there were plenty.
Yeah, there were like 4 pages of them. From Wizzy Bo Peep. If you're looking for Academy Award-winning performances in this film, you need help. If you're looking to see something shocking, you're in luck. The first time I saw this flick, I had to close my eyes in several parts. It is gory. Some of the things Fulci shows in detail in this movie have never and probably will never be shown again in popular film. Excuse me. In short, there's not much plot. A duck quacking loony is slashing women. But if you love horror, this one is well worth seeing for sure. Just make sure there's no one at home who could possibly be offended, because if they walk in while you're watching this, I guarantee you they'll be offended. Which is, yeah, I kind of agree
pretty
with that.
accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
From Alan Samino. Okay, thanks for the memories. 5 stars. From C. Christopher Blackshire.
Blackshire.
Or Blackshear, I'm sorry. This duck don't give a fuck. We've got lots of blood, nudity, and a Donald Duck sounding slasher. Just some nice, trashy cinema for the fellas. Nothing too deep, just high impact violence and sex like only Fucci can give you. Lots of ripping, quack, quack. Lots of slashing, quack, quack. Sleaze, quack, please, quack. Don't hold back. 5 stars.
I like that review.
That's creative.
And the last one, it's the lengthiest one, but I don't know. I think it's the only other one worth reading. From President Abraham Lincoln. If you're reading this review, it probably means you're a fan of this genre and are looking for something nasty. Good for you. I haven't seen the full movie. I don't think I ever will. Not my cup of tea. However, since you're here, I'll tell you a little story. This movie was playing on a TV at Exit, a punk club in Chicago, back in 1989. I caught the scene out of the corner of my eye and immediately puked in my mouth. I had to sit down and have a glass of water. I wish I could wipe the memory from my brain. The end. Now, I can't think of a better endorsement for this film for a gorehound. See, the New York Ripper, it'll make you puke in your mouth. And yet, here I am, after a long search to find out what the hell I saw back then. I can't tell you why. It's not like I'll ever watch it. And in a way, if I did, I imagine it may not be do my memory of it justice. Because when I think of it, I think it may have been the most nasty thing I've ever seen. I'd hate to spoil that, but hey, you might like it. So I'll give it 5 stars because you're here and you know what? You're going to buy it anyway. By the way, the only other film that made me puke my mouth is The Grim Reaper, but you probably already own that too. 5 stars.
Yeah.
So this guy is probably puking in his own mouth.
Speaking of that, go ahead.
Which scene was it? Was it the foot fuck scene, or was it the kitty getting cut up with a razor?
It just says the scene.
Who knows?
Probably got to be the prostitute.
But that would be hilarious if he threw up at foot fuck.
Yeah. But
he's like, blah!
I went to Chicago last summer to go to like Second City and watch a show and stuff, and afterwards a lot of the performers, they all went out to a bar, and we just picked a bar they loved, and we walk into the bar and we walk like down to the back room in kind of a basement, and I was like, oh god, I hope this doesn't suck. But dude, they had like awesome beers and stuff, but it was like this divey little basement, and they had 2 TVs, and it was playing horror movies, and they said that's a big thing, and they were playing a bunch of punk music and stuff. Like really kind of strange. I had never seen that before.
It's like the upstairs lounge in St. Louis. Like they had Dream Warriors on there a couple times, and they had the projection screen.
I remember like the ground floor in
really?
Belleville used to do that. See that like play some old black and white horror movies too.
Yeah.
They were still around.
And then there was a place in Tucson I went to called the Surly Wench that was showing a lot of movies. Shout out to the Surly Wench.
That's cool.
Yeah, so.
All right, so we'll wrap it up. Final thoughts on the New York Ripper. Doug, what do you guys say about it?
I think if you're a horror fan and you definitely want to get deeper into your horror repertoire, you should watch that. I mean, you should watch. The only other film by him that I can remember watching was Zombie, and I know that's famous for the zombie versus the shark scene. You see that like on T-shirts and stuff, but I think it's worth seeing. It doesn't make a lot of sense in the end, but it's definitely not I don't think it could go into your your March bracket as like a horrible unwatchable film, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. It was, don't get me wrong, this hasn't all of a sudden converted me to, I need to watch all of his stuff. But I liked it. All right. I mean, it wasn't compared to some of the other movies. Like the last month, damn, we really raked through some shit. It was really tough. So this was actually a little bit of a breath of fresh air for the most part. The effects were good for the 80s. I'd say it's good. I mean, it's so bad it's good. I enjoyed it enough that it was easy to watch. Take notes on it. Yeah.
I I'm gonna be the odd man out again. I didn't really care for it, and it has nothing to do because I'm a prude or I can't handle the shocking brutality of it.
We know that.
Because that doesn't bother me. It just there's so much stuff in this movie that I thought didn't need to be in it. That was just a waste. Like again, like putting stuff in a movie just for trying to shock people. Like I don't know. It's like the Howard Stern of horror movies to me. Like the toe fucking thing. Like that had no. There was no payoff for that. There's no reason for it to be in the movie. There was, I think, too many red herrings at the same time. It's like there's too much going on. Not a yeah. The kills were good. I will give it credit for that. Like bloody, gory kills, great effects for a time. But I think his overall movie and the plot, and the fact that you have a killer going around sounding like a goddamn duck. The first time I heard that, the very first time I heard that, I was like, it just took me. I'm like, okay, I can't take this seriously.
That was
with Donald Duck going around killing people.
That was definitely weird. That first kill when he started quacking, I'm like, whoa,
yeah,
whoa.
I had the same effect. So to me, I'm gonna say you don't need to. I'm gonna say so bad scary because I mean it's got some watchable, entertaining things, but overall it fell flat for me. That's in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and since this guy has a pretty good, reputation, a lot of people like him, this would probably not be the film to watch. But I've seen Zombie.
Yeah, Zombie is probably the most famous. Everybody knows Zombie. And yeah, I might, get some bashing. Oh, you have horror people. Oh, you don't get it, or you're not a true horror fan if you don't like this guy's stuff. But it's like, it's just this movie was.
I could see it sucking for like Aaron said, don't pick this one to watch out of his catalog.
So that's my opinion. So we got two goods, one scary this week. We'll wrap it up for this week. So follow us on Facebook. Check out our website, horriblehorrorpodcast.com. You can follow us on Twitter at SoBadIt'sScary. You can also find us on Podbean at horriblehorror.podbean.com. We are also on iTunes, Horrible Horror Podcast on Instagram as well.
Yes,
too.
yes, we're on Instagram.
That's right. iTunes. We're basically, if it's out there, you can find us. Check us out. Subscribe, download, listen, do all that stuff. I think that's going to do it for us for this week, Moon Goons. We'll be back.
Hopefully you feel better next week.
Hopefully my voice will be better. And
because I did the whole kind of dictating or narrating through. It's tough. I get lost.
Yeah,
Marshall puts in a lot of work.
Yeah,
you do have that like seductive Scarlett Johansson voice right now.
Actually, your voice is kind of sexy. So yeah.
All right, well, ladies, enjoy it while you can. All right, that's gonna do it for us. Take care, Moon Goons.